The world never heard the ticking, yet it echoed beneath the surface of global command, invisible pulse, counting down toward an engineered catastrophe. Far from the eyes of governments, concealed behind encrypted networks and anonymous shell alliances, a threat moved silently, its architects convinced that humanity needed a violent reset. No warning lights flashed on television screens, no foreign ministry released a statement, and no satellites captured the final device before it was too late. But deep within the quiet, windowless rooms of an American intelligence facility, a signal flickered small, almost dismissibly yet, potent enough to pull the first thread of a conspiracy that would lead the CIA into one of its most perilous and secretive operations. The mission to stop a doomsday countdown that should never have existed. In Langley, analysts were used to noise. Billions of data points crashed over them, daily movement logs, intercepted calls, satellite footage, suspicious digital patterns from hostile states. But on this particular morning, the anomaly didn't come from a known rival, nor from a flagged extremist group. It originated from a stolen fragment of code buried in a network the CIA didn't usually monitor. A dormant cyber signature appeared active again, one linked to a blackout experiment years earlier that had briefly shut down a small region S-power grid. That operation had been dismissed as the work of sophisticated criminals, not geopolitical actors. Yet now, its architecture seemed modified, strengthened, and multiplied. The analysts didn't know it then, but they had just glimpsed the heartbeat of a machine designed to unmake order itself. Signals intelligence first picked up the irregularity. A series of phantom packets originated from 3 separate continents within milliseconds of each other, too synchronized, too perfect to be ordinary traffic. Satellite thermal scans showed faint activity in facilities believed abandoned. What unsettled the analysts wasn't the noise, but the silence surrounding it. No chatter, no testing, no probing typical of enemy cyber maneuvering. This was quiet, efficient, and extraordinarily disciplined. Patterns emerged as the team dug deeper, linking the anomaly to a cluster of digital identities known for disappearing faster than they appeared. A ghost network encrypted circuits routed through untraceable servers showed signs of intense computation. That kind of processing power suggested simulations, and simulations suggested preparation. The question that began gnawing at the CIA was, preparation for what? It took only a day of analysis for the concern to escalate into alarm. A task force was formed, pulling in cyber experts, field operatives, nuclear analysts, and satellite specialists. Their mandate was simple but daunting: determine whether the anomaly pointed to a weapon, a cyber threat, or something else entirely. The team quickly realized they were up against an adversary that understood intelligence methods intimately. Servers were wiped with military precision moments before they were located. Communications were layered with misdirection, bouncing through outdated satellites and hijacked civilian networks. On the ground, field reports described unusual gatherings of individuals known for disappearing between conflict: scientists, engineers, former intelligence personnel with quiet but troubling histories. Covert movement was happening across borders under the cover of humanitarian logistics and research exchanges. Whatever this was, it was being constructed with expertise and intention. Encrypted chatter intercepted from a deep cover contact hinted at a strange coalition X technologists. Rogue state financiers and ideological extremists who believed society needed a forced realignment. They had no name, no symbol, no allegiance. They operated like a shadow algorithm, distributed, anonymous, self-sustaining. A satellite sweep over a remote industrial region revealed a facility drawing unusual power levels at night, its emissions masked by a camouflage that could fool most detection systems. Analysts cross-referenced the data with past intelligence and discovered that many of these actors had once belonged to groups obsessed with catastrophic cleansing events. Suddenly, the possibility emerged that this wasn't just about cyber warfare or critical infrastructure attacks. It may be a hybrid weapon, one capable of triggering global chaos without a missile ever being launched. Confirmation arrived not through technology, but through a human asset embedded in an Eastern European smuggling ring. The operative delivered a fragment of information, barely coherent, yet devastating in implication. The coalition was close to finishing a device capable of inducing cascading failures across multiple nuclear reactors simultaneously. It's not a bomb, but a sequence-an automated intrusion designed to override safety protocols and accelerate reactor temperatures beyond control. Even modern failsafes, they believed, could be overwhelmed with enough synchronized pressure. With the right code deployed at the right moment, reactors would begin to melt from within, and the world would attribute it to tragic coincidence rather than coordinated attack. The scale of destruction would cripple nations, destabilize economies, and shatter global trust. It was a doomsday countdown without a traditional weapon, silent, deniable, catastrophic. Langley moved into crisis posture. The CIA response unfolded in layers, each designed to intercept the conspiracy from a different angle. Cyber teams launched infiltration sequences that mimicked harmless background processes, burying themselves within the enemy's network like digital parasites. Field agents tracked the movement of key conspirators, gathering intel from their discarded devices, intercepted shipments, and discreet financial trails that had been disguised as philanthropic transfers. A covert surveillance block monitored suspect facilities using long-range thermal cameras mounted on high-altitude aircraft. The operation demanded precision, secrecy, and the ability to act before even the enemy realized it was being hunted. The urgency grew when analysts uncovered a timestamp buried inside the rogue code. It wasn't a creation date or a version log. It was a deployment window, less than 2 months away. By then, the distributed command modules would synchronize and activate the intrusion sequence automatically. The conspirators didn't even need to press a button once the system went live. The countdown had already begun. Every second weakened the agency's margin for error. The CIA needed not only to find the central command node, but also to dismantle or corrupt the autonomous network feeding it. For the first time in years, U.S. intelligence faced a threat not shaped by a nation-state, but by a decentralized ideology powered by people who believed they were saving the world by destroying it. The deeper the CIA pushed, the more a pattern emerged. The digital fingerprints traced back to a research facility abandoned after an industrial accident a decade earlier. Satellite imaging suggested new underground construction, cleverly hidden beneath the remnants of the collapsed structure. It was a perfect hiding place, symbolic, forgotten, and strategically positioned near critical fiber networks. The task force believed this was where the central module existed, the brain coordinating the global intrusion nodes. Yet penetrating it required more than surveillance. It required deception. The CIA pushed false data into the network, suggesting system failures in one of the peripheral nodes. The conspirators, believing their architecture was under automated self-repair, rerouted data to compensate. That reroute revealed a masked subnet and access point that should not have existed unless it linked to the command core. As the task force analyzed the subnet, a chilling realization surfaced. The conspirators had built a failover system that could activate even if their main hub was compromised. They had engineered redundancy with fanatic discipline. The CIA now faced a dual threat: destroy the command core and disable the failover, all without triggering premature activation. The agency deployed an elite infiltration unit tasked with reaching the subterranean facility under the guise of a geological survey team. Meanwhile, cyber specialists prepared a counter-intrusion virus designed to corrupt the command logic at the exact moment the physical team breached the hub. Timing and synchronization had become the deciding factors in whether the world survived or collapsed into radioactive silence. The climax of the operation unfolded with breathtaking precision and suffocating tension. As the infiltration unit descended into the underground corridors, they encountered a maze of reinforced barriers, automated defense mechanisms, and environmental traps designed to slow intruders. Above ground, satellites monitored heat signatures, suggesting that the conspirators were inside the core chamber, preparing final calibration. The parallel cyber team initiated its penetration sequence, slipping past firewalls that blinked like sentinels in the dark.
Yes.
Every inch forward felt like a step closer to an irreversible tipping point. Then one of the analysts spotted something terrifying. The system was accelerating. Countdown had quietly shifted ahead by several days. The device was closer to activation than anyone had realized. Deep underground, the infiltration unit breached the central chamber. What they found was not a traditional server farm, but an array of quantum processors linked to improvised cooling systems, humming with lethal potential. The conspirators had already fled, leaving the system primed for automated execution. The team planted the counter-intrusion modules and initiated the virus upload. For a moment, the world hung in suspension as two digital forces collided: the autonomous Doomsday sequence against the CIA's sabotage algorithm. A single corrupted checksum would trigger the failover system, which could activate prematurely. The cyber team worked relentlessly, threading the virus through the most vulnerable sectors of the enemy architecture. Status monitors flickered, temperatures rose, and alerts cascaded across the screens like an avalanche. Then, in a moment that would never be recorded, never acknowledged, the countdown froze. The system attempted to restart but found its control logic fractured, its core corrupted beyond recovery. The atomic chain reaction that would have triggered chaos remained unborn. The processors dimmed one by one, surrendering to the silent decay of the virus. Above ground, satellites picked up no anomalous readings. Nuclear facilities across the globe remained stable, oblivious to how close they had been to catastrophic synchronization. The CIA task force exfiltrated quietly, erasing every trace of their operation, leaving behind nothing but a hollow structure filled with inoperative machinery and cold air. The world continued without interruption. Financial markets operated normally, cities remained lit, aircraft took off on schedule, and global leaders discussed routine matters, unaware that a silent catastrophe had been diffused beneath their feet. The conspirators who survived scattered into the shadows, their grand design reduced to corrupted code and forgotten ambitions. The CIA filed the operation under a classification so obscure it would remain sealed for decades, if not forever. No medals were awarded, no speeches delivered. Even within the intelligence community, only a handful understood the magnitude of what had been prevented. In the end, the reflection left behind was one of sobering clarity. Intelligence work existed in the voids between visible events, in the shadows where whispers shaped destinies. The greatest victories were the ones the world never saw, the crises that never erupted, the countdowns that never reached zero. Agents, analysts, and unseen operatives lived in a reality where success meant silence and survival came without applause. Their wars were fought in digital battlegrounds, dimly lit corridors, and the fragile spaces between order and chaos. And somewhere in those spaces, the knowledge lingered that civilization was constantly held aloft by invisible hands that labored quietly, tirelessly, and without recognition to stop doomsday before anyone knew it had begun.